Good morning, everybody. How are you today? We are so happy to be back with you. We always enjoy having a break, but then at the same time, we miss you all very much. And this also, I don't know if a lot of you realize this, but this opportunity to meet with you every week also gives all of us the opportunity to meet with each other, talk about books, catch up on what's going on at home, and it's fun. So we are, as usual, thrilled to see you. We cannot believe this is our 11th episode, and we cannot believe that it is July 15th already. So we are all a little amazed. We just were talking about how much we love summer, and it seems to be flying by. Even though we are in this weird moment in life and the world is crazy, the days still seem to be flying by. So we are happy that we get to meet with you guys once a week or a couple times a month, but we're happy to be back as usual to talk to you today. You're probably noticing that I'm not Jen Rubin, so I'm going to do my very, very best to fill her shoes today. I'm not going to be as fun. I will warn you that up front. I don't have any props, but I did tell Jen at least I am using a very fancy coffee mug to celebrate the day. So this is my nod to Jen. So we figured we would let her have a day off. I mean, she has to beg, but we let her have a day off.
She earned it.
But thank you for joining us today. And I'm Kelly Coyle-Corvelli, for those of you that don't know. And I will have my two colleagues introduce themselves as well.
Hi, everyone. This is Miriam Tulio, and I'm currently in Astoria, Queens.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here with you to talk about books. I need this bookish break today, and I am buzzing to you from Connecticut.
Yeah, thank you, guys. This is so nice. I'm in New Jersey. I was just telling my colleagues that yesterday I took a day off, and my sister and I hid at the beach, and we didn't tell anybody else we were going. And we sat next to each other and ignored each other all day and read our books all day, which was like the perfect day ever.
Heaven.
You always want to be with somebody that can appreciate the fact that you just want to read your book and you don't really want to talk. We are ready to talk to you this morning about some great books again. And just as a reminder, this is our grid that, where you'll see on the slides the different formats. And hardcover, trade paperback, large print. So this just means all of the formats that the books that we're talking about are available in. And at the end, as you know, you'll get the wrap-up report and you'll get all of the grids, so you don't have to feel like you have to write everything down while you're listening. A couple of reminders. We have some really, really great virtual author events this week. I mean, there has been some benefits of being in this quarantine, and some of the virtual author events that you wouldn't be able to get to otherwise this is definitely one of the biggest perks. Look at the great opportunities coming up this week. I mean, even if you look at I want to make a special point out to the Random House Summer Reads Zoom call on July 15th, which is tonight, actually, if you are available. I mean, the books on there that I have so many questions about. I've Conjure Women, Evie Drake Starts Over, Dear Edward, Rodham. So it's going to be really fun. So we hope you'll be able to participate in some of these events coming up this week. This is our summer reading sample, our summer reading sampler we put together for you. It is a little excerpt of several of our really fun books, upcoming books, and ones that have just come out that we think are perfect for you to start reading this summer, to get to know about, to share with your patrons. It was really fun to put together. It made all of our TBR piles go up, just like every one of these buzzes does. And at the end, there's a lot of really fun summer drink recipes. So even though this is the morning book buzz and we are drinking coffee, I do wish I was drinking that drink on the screen. It looks really good.
I could go for Bloody Mary.
Oh, that sounds good too.
Right?
Yeah. It's a El Diablo. That sounds like it's going to give you a headache, but it looks really good. And then we wanted to tell you about our Read Together, Be Together hotline. We know that a lot of parents and a lot of educators have been doing story times over the last couple of months virtually, and maybe you need some recommendations of more books that you can read to children that are from young ages to 5 years old. And if you fill out a form, you're going to receive a confirmation within 48 hours with some reading suggestions. So this is great. We know that everyone's going through the books. Most kids do want to read the same book over and over and over again. but a lot of times the parents and educators really would like to dive into something new. So this is a really fun hotline, or e-hotline, and we hope that you will take advantage of it. Oh, and this is exciting. So next week, not instead of our morning buzz, but we are enhancing our morning book buzz with a graphic novel library con type of panel. We've got authors attending. We've got lots of special guests coming, Carmen Marie Machado, Brady Hendricks, lots of interesting personalities talking about graphic novels, sci-fi, and it's going to actually be 2 hours. So we hope that next week you'll have an extra hour for us, but there'll be lots of author panels and discussion as well. So we hope you can join us for that. And I think, yes, we are now on to the books. Take it away, girl. Thanks.
Okay. So, excuse me, July 26th marks the 30-year anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the landmark legislation that ensures the civil rights of citizens with disabilities. And in recognition of this major historical milestone, we wanted to highlight some inspiring books centered on the lived experience of disability. Golem Girl is the luminous, vividly told, and beautifully illustrated memoir by renowned artist Riva Lehrer. Born with spina bifida in 1958, Lehrer endures countless medical interventions in her youth in the quest to be cured. Everything changes, though, when, as an adult, she discovers a group of creatives who challenge the commonly held tropes of disability and seek opportunities to create and resist. An emboldened Lehrer asks if she can paint their portraits, and these intimate collaborations end up transforming her worldview, dispelling the myths she's been told about her body, her sexuality, and the value of normalcy. Being Human recounts one woman's lifelong battle to achieve respect, acceptance, and inclusion in society. Paralyzed from polio at 18 months, Judith Human's struggle for equality began at an early age. She fought to attend grade school after being described as a fire hazard and successfully sued the New York City school system for denying her a teacher's license because of her paralysis. Rolling her wheelchair through the doors of the United States Department of Health, Education, and Welfare in San Francisco, Human led the Section 504 sit-in, the longest takeover of a governmental building in the nation's history. And working with a community of over 150 disabled activists and allies, Human successfully pressured the Carter administration to implement protections for disabled people's rights, sparking a national movement and leading to the creation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Human is an incredible storyteller, and I really, really, really hope that you read this book. She is fierce, she's funny, and she's an absolute badass. Next, we have in the introduction of Disability Visibility, activist Alice Wong shares, staying alive is a lot of work for a disabled person in an ableist society. And that work has been a big part of my 46 years on this planet. I grew up seeing very few images that look like me in books, film, or television. In that absence, how does one realize that something is even missing? Wong adds, as I grew older, discovering a community of disabled people and learning our stories gave me a sense of what is possible. This book, Disability Visibility, is a groundbreaking book about community. It's a collection of first-person writing on the joys and challenges of the modern disability experience. Wong brings together the voices of activists, authors, lawyers, politicians, artists, and everyday people whose daily lives are, in the words of playwright Neil Marcus, an art, an ingenious way to live. Next, we have The Power of Disability, and this book offers 10 lessons we all can learn from people with disabilities, illustrated with short, inspiring, and thought-provoking stories of 100 individuals from 20 countries. Among the profiled are artist Yayoi Kusama, composer Charles Mingus, percussionist Evelyn Glennie, activist Greta Thunberg, and model Aaron Phillip. The author, Al Eptimansky, is a community organizer, social entrepreneur, and the co-founder of Planned Lifetime Advocacy Network, which helps parents provide a secure future for their sons and daughters with disability. Actor, film producer, and activist Michael J. Fox says the power of disability reminds us what we have in common, the power to create a good life for ourselves and for others, no matter what the world has in store for us. Stephen Hawking, a memoir of friendship and physics, explores the life of one of the most influential physicists of our time. The author, Leonard Mlodinow, received his PhD in theoretical physics from the University of California, Berkeley, is a fellow at the Max Planck Institute, and a faculty member at the California Institute of Technology. Maldonau's previous books include the bestsellers The Grand Design and A Briefer History of Time, both co-written with Stephen Hawking, Subliminal, The Drunkard's Walk, and The War of the Worldviews, co-written with Deepak Chopra. New York Times bestselling author Michio Kaku offers early praise for this memoir, stating Maldonau has done the impossible. He has skillfully woven together a thoughtful, insightful, intimate, and engaging portrait of Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest minds of our times, while being scrupulously faithful to the physics. And lastly, A Disability History of the United States, covering the span of the United States history from pre-1492 to the present. This is the first book to place the experiences of people with disabilities at the center of the American narrative. Pulling from primary source documents and social histories, historian and disability scholar Kim E. Nielsen argues, to understand disability history isn't to narrowly focus on a series of individual triumphs, but rather to examine mass movements and pivotal daily events through the lens of varied experiences. Engrossing and profound, A Disability History of the United States reinterprets how we view the nation's past.
And as I'm filling in for Jen, I'm going to give you a little bit of audiobook background on the disability titles. And as a reminder, audiobooks are a great equalizer and necessity for many readers. So these are very important books to have in audio form. Gollum Girl is likely to be read by the author. Disability Visibility, the author reads her introduction, and then the audio is narrated by Alejandra Ospina. She's an actress, activist, and wheelchair user, and she said of narrating, I was honored to be asked to record the audio version of this anthology. If I can help make stories of disability rights, justice, and culture accessible to more people, then sign me up. So we are really excited to bring some of these titles to you in audio as well.
Oh, I'm so excited to be talking about these dystopian fiction titles that we've selected for you today, because it's a genre that I adore and I read in often.
Erica, you are definitely our dystopian fiction person we go to.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're the one we go to for books that when we want to have a little tear shed, among many others. But I'm going to kick things off with a personal story about when I first learned about the resistors, because it's one of my favorite stories from working in publishing, and it just happened last summer at ALA Annual in DC on the exhibit hall floor. I was introduced to Ann Patchett, and as I was overcome and fumbling over my words, trying to introduce myself to her, she grabbed me by the shoulders, and Patchett touched these shoulders, and just raved about The Resistors by Gish Jen, because she had received an early bound manuscript from the editor, and she just was so excited, and already having just put it down, felt so passionate about it. She had to come over to the Penguin Random House booth and find somebody to just share her enthusiasm for this new novel from Gish Jen. And so when she submitted the blurb, she said of it, The Resistors is palpably loving, smart, funny, and desperately unsettling. The novel should be required reading for the country, both as a cautionary tale and because it is a stone-cold masterpiece. This is Gish Jen's moment. She has pitched a perfect game. And that's Ann Patchett. Can't do better than a glowing review from Ann Patchett. And true enough, Jen has outdone herself this time, writing a dystopian novel that is at once disturbing and fun to read. It is an engrossing vision of a future world run by AI, and there's a lot of baseball. One of the good things in this new world is that it has at its center a young woman gifted with a golden pitching arm. The time is not so long from now, and the place is Auto America. The land is half underwater, and the internet is one part AI, one part surveillance technology, and oddly enough, it's even funny. The people are divided. The angel fair netted have jobs and literally occupy the high ground, while the surplus live on swampland if they're lucky, on water if they're not. The story is of a surplus couple. He was once a professor, she is still a lawyer, and their daughter, born with a golden arm, who at 2 years old, Gwen, was hurling her stuffed animals from the crib. At 10, she can hit whatever target she likes. And so when Auto America rejoins the Olympics, they recruit her in her teenage years while she's happily playing in an underground baseball league. Because Auto America has a special eye on beating China-Russia, and so Gwen soon finds herself playing ball with the netted class, even as her mother challenges the very foundations of this divided society. A moving and important story of an America that seems ever more possible, The Resistors is also the story of one family struggling to maintain its humanity and normalcy in circumstances that threaten their every value, as well as their very existence. Place this in the hands of readers who loved Station 11, 1984, A League of Their Own, The Plot Against America, and of course for Ann Patchett fans everywhere. In the hierarchies, your husband is the reason for your existence. You are here to serve him. You must not harm your husband, nor may you harm any human. Sylvie is a synthetic woman, a fully sentient robot designed to cater to her husband's every whim. She lives alone on the top floor of his luxurious home, her existence barely tolerated by his human wife and concealed from their child. Between her husband's visits, deeply curious about the world beyond her room, Sylvie watches the family in the garden, hears them cry, laugh, and argue. Longing to experience more of life, she confides her hopes and fears only to her diary. But are such thoughts allowed? And if not, what might the punishment be? Set in a recognizable near future and laced with dark, sly humor, Ross Anderson's deeply observant debut novel is less about the fear of new technology than about humans' age-old talent for exploitation. This book flips your expectations for a book about AI on its head. It's not a book about why we should be afraid of robots, but rather a book about why robots should be afraid of us. This book will appeal to both readers of The Handmaid's Tale and the Testaments, The Farm, The Power, and Vox, as well as readers of speculative fiction that delves more into AI like I, Robot, Machines Like Me, and Robo-Apocalypse. The beautifully voice-driven writing will also appeal to readers of dystopian literary fiction like Never Let Me Go. With Bubblegum, Bubblegum is the astonishing new novel by the New York Public Library Young Lions fiction award-winning author of The Instructions. Of Bubblegum, George Saunders has said that Adam Levin is one of our wildest writers and our funniest, and Bubblegum is a dazzling accomplishment of wit and inventiveness. Bubblegum is set in an alternate present-day world in which the internet does not exist and has never existed. Mind-blowing, right? Rather, a wholly different species of interactive technology, a flesh and bone robot called the Curio, has dominated both the market and the cultural imagination since the late 1980s. Belt Magnet, who as a boy in Greater Chicago became one of the lucky first adopters of a Curio, is now writing his memoir, and through it we follow a singular man out of sync with the harsh realities of a world he feels alien to, but must find a way to live in. At age 38, still living at home with his widowed father, Belt insulates himself from the awful and terrifying world outside by spending most of his time with books, his beloved curio, and the voices in his head, which he isn't entirely sure are in his head. In Bubblegum, Adam Levin has crafted a profoundly hilarious, resonant, and monumental narrative about heartbreak, longing, art, and the search for belonging in an incompatible world. It's a rare masterwork of provocative social and self-awareness and intimate emotional power. It's literary absurdity and speculative in the way of Roberto Bolaño and David Foster Wallace. Adam Levin goes far beyond the expected what-if scenarios to reflect the American reality with stunning clarity, startling depth, and quite a bit of biting humor. It's a serious literary powerhouse, and it is so much fun. From the critically
I'm loving
acclaimed,
that cover. Makes me really want to read it.
It's so much fun. It's the perfect shade of pink.
Yeah, it really is.
From the critically acclaimed author of Vox. I know there are many fans in our department and listeners today, fans of Vox. Here comes a suspenseful new novel that explores a disturbing alternate reality where the government has legalized eugenics. Elena Fairchild is a teacher at one of the state's new elite schools, where children undergo routine tests for their quotient, or Q. Those who don't measure up are placed in the many state boarding schools that have cropped up under a new government mandate. And suddenly, Elena's daughter, Freddie, has become one of those students sent to the boarding schools. In order to be with Freddie, Elena immediately requests to transfer to the state school, but to her horror, she learns that the children are receiving the bare minimum of instruction. Instead, they spend their days making handcrafted goods, valuable commodities, in the age of machine-made products. So what began as a shock quickly becomes a nightmare as Elena discovers the terrifying atrocities inflicted upon the students. Not only have their test scores been tampered with, but they're also unwitting subjects in experiments, one of which tests a new method of chemical sterilization. The plan to render all adolescents with undesirable quotients infertile. And her daughter, Freddie, may be next in line. This is for readers of thought-provoking speculative thrillers like Dave Eggers' The Circle and Naomi Alderman's The Power. Red Pill is extremely timely and dives deep into the current political climate, the alt-right movement, and the increasingly polarized world. In addition, in August of last summer, Warner Brothers announced a new Matrix film, the series from which the novel takes its title. So no, you weren't imagining things when seeing this title made you think of the Matrix. Red Pill is from the widely acclaimed author of White Tears, and is a bold new novel about searching for order in a world that frames madness as truth. That feels very familiar. After receiving a prestigious writing fellowship in Germany, the narrator of Red Pill arrives in the Berlin suburb of Wannsee and struggles to accomplish anything at all. Instead of working on the book he has proposed to write, he takes long walks and binge watches Blue Lives, a violent cop show that becomes weirdly compelling in its bleak Darwinian view of life, and soon begins to wonder if his writing has any value at all. When some friends drag him to a party, he meets Anton, the creator of Blue Lives, and the narrator begins to believe that the two of them are involved in a cosmic battle, and that Anton is red-pilling his viewers, turning them toward an ugly, alt-rightish worldview, ultimately forcing the narrator to wonder if he is losing his mind. Highly recommended for readers of David Mitchell, Ben Lerner, Maggie Nelson, and Jonathan Lethem, and the legions of Matrix fans poised for the next movie. Release date TBD, as all things lately. And then finally, I'll admit, I saved the best for last. I know you've been seeing this cover on the slide.
You're teasing everyone.
I saved it for last because I still am pinching myself that we finally have. Really, it's an understatement to call this highly anticipated, but it is a highly anticipated sequel to the #1 New York Times bestseller, Ready Player One. In Ready Player 2, Wade Watts travels the virtual world of the Oasis on a new quest that captures all of the irresistible nostalgia from the original while revealing shocking new truths about the Oasis's past and humanity's future. When he was growing up, Wade Watts dreamed of being James Halliday, the genius creator of the Oasis. And now Wade has inherited Halliday's vast fortune and with it, control of the Oasis itself. Here we have an older and wiser Wade. His love for pop culture classics is just as infectious and unironic and enthralling as ever, but this time he's better able to see the shortcomings in those artifacts and their creators. Halliday left behind far more than Wade bargained for, including a jaw-dropping new technology that erased the lines between the virtual and the real, making the Oasis 1,000 times more seductive and addictive than ever before. And with that technology comes a new riddle, a new quest, and an unimaginable enemy risen from the dead to seek it. But what prize awaits at this finish line? What could be worth more than control of the Oasis itself? Ernie has engineered a brilliant new journey through the pop culture landscape of the Oasis, crafted with all the enthusiasm and joy that made Ready Player One so irresistible to all of us, along with great surprises and many reveals along the way. And yes, there is a new movie on the horizon. Warner Brothers and Spielberg himself have been anxiously awaiting this manuscript right alongside us and are raring to go on the next movie.
Yay, it's so fun. So the way our department works is that all of us are in charge of different titles per publisher. And when I saw the sometimes I'm just like, not paying attention or whatever. And when I saw this title on the presentation, I emailed my colleague and I said, "Is this really happening?" And so soon. So even internally, it was a surprise. So we are super excited about this one.
It was like the best.
And also, what a perfect, I guess he probably thought of this forever. But, I love the title. I mean, I know it's such an obvious title, but I just love it so much. I mean, it just reminds me of standing and playing Pac-Man with somebody, and I just love it. I'm so excited. The audio tidbits for this slide is that The Resistors is got a starred book list audio review, and it's recommended for YA listeners. And it says that narrator Demerit's deep voice and carefully paced delivery is perfectly matched to Jen's strikingly succinct story, which is a great review. Red Pill will be read by the author, and Ready Player One is always cited as a favorite audiobook. That's how I actually read Ready Player One, was on audio, and it was fantastic. And it's a great entry for a first-time listener. So if anybody's taking a road trip, that Ready Player One is the perfect story for the family. And it's read by Will Wheaton, and it is a must-listen if you haven't experienced it. I know. And stay tuned for Ready Player Two casting news this summer. We just got Erica is
I have a Will Wheaton. I met Will Wheaton at a book expo, and again, I forgot my name. Will Wheaton. Hi. Great.
I love it.
All right, move on.
I know. I'm sorry to leave this slide, Erica, because I know you love it so much. But
I could go on.
Historical fiction is always an inside favorite too. So
I'm excited about all these.
So here we have some titles that take place somewhere in time. The Queen of Tuesday, from the award-winning best-selling author of Chang and Eng and Half a Life, comes a new novel about Lucille Ball, a thrilling, epic love story starring the beloved actress, comedienne, and Hollywood icon. Prize-winning author Colson Whitehead says, with The Queen of Tuesday, Darren Strauss rescues history's outtakes and the lost footage to edit his own gorgeous, Technicolor take on America in the middle of the 20th century, concocting an unlikely romance that is bold, brassy, and big-hearted. Conjure Women. Set on a southern plantation, Conjure Women tells a story of a midwife healer named Rue, the families she cares for, and the secrets she knows about the plantation owner's daughter. Switching between the years before and just after the Civil War, this debut novel explores womanhood, motherhood, and race. The author, Afia Atakora, was born in the United Kingdom and raised in New Jersey. She's a graduate of New York University and has an MFA from Columbia University. Her fiction has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize, and she was a finalist for the Hurston Wright Award for College Writers. Next, we have Cher Ami and Major Whittlesley by Kathleen Rooney, a heart-tugging saga inspired by true events of World War I. From England's green countryside and Wall Street's gray canyons come two unlikely heroes. Answering the call to serve in the war, neither Cher Ami, a messenger bird, nor Charles Whittlesley, an army officer, can anticipate how their lives will briefly intersect in a chaotic battle in the forests of France, where their wills will be tested and their lives will emerge forever altered. Pulitzer Prize finalist Rebecca Mackay described Cher Ami and Major Whittlesley as brilliant and surprising at every turn. The Abolitionist's Daughter. Taking place in the years just before and after the Civil War, Diane C. MacPhail's sweeping, character-driven epic explores the impact of the war on a Southern family of abolitionists and the role of women in a world depleted by the conflict of men. In the midst of the Civil War, two intermarried families fall into a deadly conflict, resulting in murder, mob violence, and the killing of the town doctor. New York Times bestselling author Jacqueline Mitchard says The Abolitionist's Daughter is a contender, a deeply felt, thoroughly researched story, as good as it deserves to be. Next, we have 50 Words for Rain, Asha Lemmy's dazzling debut novel. This is about a young woman's quest for acceptance in post-World War II Japan. If a woman knows nothing else, she should know how to be silent. Do not question. Do not fight. Do not resist. Such is 8-year-old Nori Kamiza's first lesson. She will not question why her mother abandoned her with only these few words. She will not fight her confinement to the attic of her grandparents' estate, and she will not resist the scalding chemical baths she receives daily to lighten her shameful skin. The child of a married Japanese aristocrat and her African-American GI lover, Nori is biracial, an outsider from birth. 50 Words for Rain can be recommended to book groups and fans of Pachinko, White Chrysanthemum, and The Piano Teacher. And lastly, Hamnet. The acclaimed author of I Am, Maggie O'Farrell returns with a literary historical novel set in 15th century Britain. This mesmerizing, plot-driven novel relates the death of Shakespeare's 11-year-old son, Hamnet, and the years leading up to the production of one of his greatest plays.
Thank you, Miriam. I love historical fiction. So I'm just going to give you some of the audio sound bites here. The Queen of Tuesday will be read by award-winning narrator Tavia Gilbert. Conjure Women is read by award-winning narrator Ada Rilejo. I'm sorry, I probably didn't say that right. And Cher Ami and Major Whittlesley has two readers, Juliana Catfield and Noah Michael Levine. And I'm so excited for that one because I loved Lillian Bachfish Takes a Walk. So all of these, see what happens is we're all of our TBR piles are increasing as you guys talk. So I'm so mesmerized by which of these I want to read first. All right, next. Here we go. Oh, Erica, let me just unmute you real quick. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, was I? All right. So wellness as a category, we've been seeing back at the office when we were all together in the office. So many conversations that this was an ongoing popular trend, and we watched all of the imprints really start to research and figure out how to publish, really the best books in many of the wellness categories. And it's even more relevant now than ever. So it's really exciting to see what these books are going to be doing over the next several months and throughout next year. First up is from former BuzzFeed personality Ashley Perez, a funny, honest, and unabashedly feminist book of inspiration and wisdom to help you plant some roots, live in the process, and accept you for you. Ashley Perez has grown a major online platform. She has been a BuzzFeed host, writer, and internet personality at large, as well as an actor and producer. And while at BuzzFeed, she co-created the hit series Violet, and most recently was writing for the freeform show The Good Trouble. She's an outspoken supporter of the LGBTQ community and is a feminist and women's rights activist. We each need a little push, right, in order to live the life we want. Wisdom and motivation can be found everywhere, and Ashley Perez compiles tons of it, and read this for inspiration. She pulls these sparks from figures in pop culture, history, literature, and even from her own mother, peppering in her own strong wit and humor. References and sayings from the likes of Greta Gerwig, Maya Angelou, and Queer Eye's Bobby Burke give these essays star power and remind you of your own potential, prompting you to take action. The short and approachable style of Perez's entries makes her message really hit home. Her writing is engaging, evocative, and sure to spark inspiration. You could recommend this for readers of sites like BuzzFeed, Hello Giggles, and The Cut, listeners of podcasts like Two Dope Queens, Call Your Girlfriend, and Stuff Mom Never Told You. I need to listen to that. And this will be especially resonant with millennials and Gen Zers seeking guidance in the age of it's okay to not be okay, which is a really good message. Unashamed is a searingly honest memoir of one woman's journey towards self-acceptance as she comes to see her body as a symbol of rebellion and hope and chooses to live her life unapologetically. Leah Vernon is a plus-size hijabi model, social media influencer, public speaker, and freelance writer. She's been featured by BuzzFeed, Yahoo, Cosmopolitan, Marie Claire, 17, and the New York Times. And she's worked with brands including Adidas, Lululemon, and Universal Standard. She speaks at universities and organizations across the country on topics of intersectional feminism, race, religion, and spirituality, cultural sensitivity, social media, and branding. Ever since she was little, Leah was told what to believe and how to act. There wasn't any room for imperfection. In Unashamed, Vernon takes to task the myth of the perfect Muslim woman with frank dispatches on her love-hate relationship with her hijab and her faith, race, weight, mental illness, domestic violence, sexuality, the millennial world of dating, and the process of finding her voice. Irreverent, youthful, and funny, unashamed, but unashamed gives you anyone who is marginalized permission to live unapologetic, confident lives. Leah is a unique voice in the feminist movement, not couched in academia or feminist theory. She paints a clear, accessible picture of her own personal experiences. She appeals to younger audiences of digital natives, Instagram, fashion influencers, and devoted followers of Teen Vogue and BuzzFeed who are very much beginning their own conversations about race, class, and religion, and are looking for representation. Now, diosa is the Spanish word for goddess. A diosa is anyone who honors the primal feminine energy in the world and within themselves. According to psychotherapist Christine Gurites, diosas face obstacles in their lives, but are always ready and willing to go to their core to reclaim their inner worth and self-esteem. They are the ones that rise from the ash and dare to piece themselves back together bone by bone and soul piece by soul piece. From stories of resilience from both Gutierrez and members of her diosa tribe to mantras, meditations, and guided journaling prompts, this book gives women the tools they need to honor their sacred feminine and become who they were always meant to be. This raw and relatable guide to radical self-care and self-love empowers readers to embrace the powerful diosa within. Fans include Gabrielle Bernstein, and this is highly recommended for readers of Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And this is a much needed voice in the personal development space. Gutierrez has been referred to as the Latina Gabrielle Bernstein, and indeed this book fills the gap in the marketplace in terms of inspiring and empowering books for Latina women and women of color in general. I Am Diosa will inspire women to give themselves permission to feel, to be seen, to be heard, and to return to their truest selves. Latham Thomas, aka Glow Maven, is a celebrity wellness, lifestyle guru, and birth doula who was named one of Oprah Winfrey's Super Soul 100 and one of Mind Body Green's top 100 women to watch in wellness. Latham is the founder of Mama Glow, mamaglow.com, a lifestyle brand and website offering inspiration, education, and holistic services for expectant and new mamas. Own Your Glow is an inspirational, actionable, and wildly enriching companion for change. She provides soulful principles that offer an illuminated path for examining life's challenges, helping you to curate your own path to greatness, and all while embracing your uniquely feminine attributes. Packed with rituals, meditations, and snackable lifestyle tips, Thomas provides a clear framework for harnessing your passion, developing spiritual fitness, and embracing true vulnerability. This guide is for anyone who wants to witness her own life transform and contribute to the positive change of the world around her. Combining spiritual, psychological, and self-reflective tools, Thomas offers an antidote to the hustle hard, make it happen mainstream culture and fosters slowing down, intentionality, and self-care as a pathway to empowerment. And she has a lot of well-known and high-profile supporters. Actress Gabrielle Union had said of Own Your Glow that it encapsulates the modern female experience, reminding us all that there is strength in stillness and power in patience. She also received high praise from Tamika Mallory, co-chair of the Women's March, and Daphne Oz, Emmy Award-winning television host, a New York Times bestselling author, India Ari, the Grammy Award-winning recording artist, and also high praise from Opal Tometi, human rights advocate and co-founder of Black Lives Matter. So she's in amazing company. With relationship goals, we are introduced to Michael Todd, who is a rapidly rising star in the preaching and teaching world. His audience is eagerly awaiting his first book, and his massively influential network is excited to help this up-and-comer make some noise. This publication draws on the wisdom and content expressed in the Relationship Goals sermon series on YouTube, which has garnered over 53 million views and counting, and he has over 1 million followers on his social media accounts. Michael believes that relationships are the epicenter of human thriving. All too often, though, we lack the tools or vision to build our relationships on the wisdom and power of God. In other words, it's good to have a goal, but you can't get there without proper aim. So by charting a course that candidly examines our most common pitfalls, and by unpacking explosive truths from God's Word, Michael's debut book will transform a trendy hashtag into a future where your most cherished relationships thrive in relational life, hope, and abundance. And now those are real hashtag relationship goals, which I'm sure many of us have used in our social media, but not to this meaningful extent. Now, a few years ago, I first came to understand the importance of sleep in my life, in all of our lives, when I heard Arianna Huffington speak to promote her book, The Sleep Revolution. But it's one thing to understand that we all need to prioritize sleep in our lives. It's another to know how to actually sleep well and to sleep in a way that is truly restorative, because sleep is elusive, even to those of us who are trying to make the effort, right, to have 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And here we have, based on the popular podcast, Nothing Much Happens, offering soothing stories to carry you off to deep and restful sleep. busy minds need a place to rest. Kelly. Whether you find yourself struggling to sleep, awake in the middle of the night, or even just anxious as you move through the day, in Nothing Much Happens, Catherine Nicolai offers a healthy way to ease the mind before bed through the timeless appeal of classic bedtime stories. Already beloved by millions of podcast listeners, the stories in Nothing Much Happens explore and expose small, sweet moments of joy and relaxation, such as sneaking lilacs from an abandoned farm, watching fireflies from the deck in the summer. You'll also find 16 new stories never before featured on the podcast, along with whimsical illustrations, recipes, and meditations, making this a really nice book to share with a friend or family member who you know is struggling to get a good night's sleep. She uses her decades of experience as a meditation and yoga teacher and creates a world for you to slip into, one rich in sensory experience that quietly teaches mindfulness and self-compassion, soothes frayed nerves, and builds solid habits for nurturing sleep. This is highly recommended for readers of bedtime story collections like Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls and calming aids like The Things You Can See Only When You Slow Down, and the many millions of listeners of Nothing Much Happens. And really any of us looking for a mindful way to get to sleep. And because this category is just one of the hottest trends going, on our next slide, you'll see that we had to keep going a little bit longer and share some additional resources for you. So here you'll find a URL to a guide to calm, which contains excerpts from a variety of wellness and mindfulness-related books from Penguin Random House. We're huge fans of excerpts these days. It's such an easy way to dip into a book and become familiar with it if it's for you or in your readers advisory services to share with your readers. It's a great resource. With Mindfulness Moments, this is a resource from Listening Library that shares 3 calming activities to create mindful moments with children, which is really great and much needed these days. And then with Well Enough Today, this is another digital sampler because we love them so much. And it can help you and your patrons make wellness a top priority, featuring healthy recipes, motivational book excerpts, and some exercises that you can do from home. The sampler is designed to help you stay focused on your wellness in a very accessible way throughout the day.
And then I'm just going to back up and give you all a couple of audio tips for a lot of audio tidbits for this slide.
Oh, I skipped you.
So that's fine. Hopefully you're not all thinking about taking a nap right now. Although Erica, you just convinced me that I do need more sleep. Thinking of things.
It's hard.
Great resources, I know. And I'm not a good sleeper, and mostly because I'm usually trying to talk myself out of finishing a book. I was just saying that before, that I have to last night I had an hour left of my book, and I was like, all right, I need to sleep. So that's usually the reason. But some of the audio tidbits from this slide are I Am Diosa and Nothing Much Happens are both read by the author, which is very exciting. And then just wanted to let you know that the Nothing Much Happens book is Catherine Nicolai's from her podcast. So the podcast fans will be really excited to hear her narrate. And then just, just a nod to audiobooks, how they really are the perfect way to help you sleep if you can't. I always say there's a lot of things that, people say, oh, I like to listen to audiobooks while I'm running, or I like to listen to audiobooks while I'm cleaning or gardening. And I like to listen to an audiobook when I'm doing nothing, because then it feels like someone is reading to me and it feels super indulgent. So that is actually my favorite way to listen to an audiobook. And then just skipping ahead here. We had something else to tell you, but I don't see it, so never mind. We'll go from sleeping and healthy living to the direct opposite and let you know that all of you submitted your answers last week to some of your favorite barbecue go-tos, and some of the top ones were maybe not the healthiest. Bratwurst was surprisingly very high on the list, so maybe we all need to read that other slide again. Burgers, watermelon, which we will accept as a healthy choice, and lemonade. So here's some exciting, we hope you guys had a great 4th of July weekend and a good barbecue. And now you can go back to our advice about the living well and being healthy. After everybody needs a good barbecue indulgence once in a while.
That's right.
And for next week, we did a really fun newsletter last week, and we know that everybody, or mostly everybody, is missing their travel plans, their vacation plans this year. The world has been kind of shut down, and maybe even, wherever you were planning on going, you're not able to go. So we did an e-newsletter last week with fiction books that take you away to different places, and it was surprisingly popular. So we wanted to give you that tiny URL on the screen, which of course we'll send out, gives you a little taste of books that will bring you to all different places. And so we wanted to, for next week, our question is, where did your last book take you? So I will tell you that I am reading this. I just finished reading My Lovely Wife, which takes you to a very unrelaxing part of Florida with the terrible, this was one of the most terrifying things I've ever read in my life, which I guess that knife should have probably been the warning. So that took me to Florida, and now I'm in Nigeria and London with Little B. I've never read Little B, and I keep getting people telling me that I should read it. So I actually found it in one of those adorable little free library things by my brother's house. And so I thought, you know what, this is a sign. I'm going to read it. And I honestly couldn't put it down yesterday. That's why I almost didn't get myself organized enough for today. So that's where I am in my book right now. What about you guys?
I just finished Being Human, and the part that I like the most, because I'm a bit of a geek and love the feel of walking around college campuses, is when Judith Human decides to work for the Center for Independent Living at the University of California, Berkeley, and it's just a buzzing place where young people are really trying to change the world, and it was just such a great place to visit in my mind, where everything really does seem possible, and that no matter where you are in the world, you can work towards change.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, I don't have mine with me. Which is a shame because it's such a beautiful yellow cover, but I just finished reading Beach Read. That took me to the lakeside of in Michigan, which is not a setting you see too often.
Nice.
That was
We just took a road trip.
Escapism.
That book actually makes me want to have a beach house on a lake. It really did. Maybe because of the potential of a scandalous next door neighbor, but anyway. And also I took a road trip over the weekend to my brother's, and I will just say that for Jen Rubens, who's not here, I have 3 teenage sons, and I forced them for about an hour and a half of traffic in Pennsylvania to listen to Pride and Prejudice on audiobook. So that was kind of fun, because that's actually that's actually what I listen to when I'm feeling anxious. So I hate traffic, the whole thing. So I'm like, ooh, you're trapped in the car. I'm going to introduce you to Jane Austen. They love me. Well, of course, we want to thank you again for joining us. It was so fun to see you all again. And we hope you can join us next week for our very fun LibraryCon edition. There will be lots of great guest hosts, and we think it's going to be super fun. So we cannot wait to see you next week. And please let us know if you have any questions. And, of course, we'll send all this information out in the wrap-up. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
See you.
Bye.